Now it's time for 3x3 Experiment by JCD. Comparing stories from ABC, CBS, and NBC. The never-ending 3x3.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a busy Tuesday night. This major storm from Colorado to Texas to the Northeast. It's over the next several days. Two parts to this, and Ginger Z is standing by. But we're going to begin tonight with that breaking headline involving COVID and the youngest children in this country. Tonight, Pfizer officially asking the FDA for emergency use authorization for its COVID vaccine for children as young as 6 months old to 5 years old. Many parents, of course, have been waiting for this. In this country, the newest numbers tonight on children, 808,000 testing positive last week alone. Pfizer's request to the FDA is for a low dose of the vaccine to be administered in 2 shots. The company saying they expect 3 doses will be needed, but they submitted this new data for the 2 shots because of, quote, an urgent public health need, they said. The concern for children remains very high, and tonight we're inside this hospital in Texas. 10 to 15 of the expectant mothers who come in to deliver are testing positive. The new moms now quarantining for their newborns to protect them. But first tonight, how soon could the FDA decide on this request from Pfizer for the youngest of children? ABC's Maria Villarreal leading us off tonight from Texas.
Tonight, Pfizer is formally asking the FDA for emergency authorization for its vaccine for children 6 months to 5 years old. The company says it expects 3 doses will be needed, but because of what Pfizer calls an urgent public health need, they are submitting the trial data available now from just 2 doses.
We may see an emergency use authorization by the end of February or early March. So hopefully shots are into those little arms not that long after that.
It comes after reports 2 to 4-year-olds in the trial didn't generate a strong enough immune response after the second shot. Tonight, one member of the FDA advisory panel, Dr. Paul Offit, telling us they need to see all the data before giving the green light.
I can tell you everybody that sits around the table at the FDA Vaccine Advisory Committee is a skeptic, and we're not going to approve this until we're comfortable that we would give it to our own children or our own grandchildren.
Last summer, 3-year-old Christian and 14-month-old Sloan Bowie got 2 doses of the vaccine as part of the Pfizer trial.
Christian had low-grade fever for maybe 12 hours after his second shot. But other than that, the kids have flown through this whole process with flying colors.
Across the country, pediatric COVID infections dropping for the first time since Thanksgiving. Weekly cases down nearly 1/3 since the peak. But along the South Texas border, Omicron is still surging.
We're still in the pandemic, right?
Absolutely, yes. Pandemic is still present. We're still having waves and big ones coming, and I'm sure will be more coming in the future.
At DHR Health in McAllen, Samantha Reyna, who was unvaccinated, testing positive while she was in labor.
They told me that I was positive and I didn't know.
Were you shocked?
Yeah, I was. I was actually completely shocked.
Samantha quarantining away from her newborn to protect him until they could be reunited after her release from the hospital. She now wants to get vaccinated and is considering the shot for her son, too.
And Maria is with us live tonight from Texas. And I wanted to get back to this news coming in tonight, Pfizer's request for emergency use from the FDA for their vaccine for young children. So walk us through the timeline here. How soon will the FDA meet on this?
So, David, this whole process starts with an advisory panel holding a public hearing in about 2 weeks. From there, the FDA does have to sign off. They send their data to the CDC for approval after that. The whole process usually moves pretty quickly, but regulators have made it very clear when it comes to vaccine authorization for children especially, they are not going to rush the process. David?
All right, Maria Villarreal tonight. Maria, thank you.
We are approaching the point in the pandemic where everyone in America who wants a COVID vaccine will be eligible to get one. Tonight, Pfizer is asking the FDA for emergency use authorization for its vaccine for children ages 6 months old to 4 years old. This comes earlier than expected. The company says it was asked to submit its data after a record number of kids got COVID last month. The American Academy of Pediatrics says more than 3.5 million children tested positive for COVID in January alone. Parents nationwide have been pushing for an expansion of shots for babies, toddlers, and preschoolers, especially in the wake of the fast-moving Omicron variant that also resulted in a record number of pediatric hospitalizations. CBS's Nikki Batiste joins us now with the late-breaking news. Good evening, Nikki.
Nora, good evening. Pfizer says tonight it has given the FDA data on a 2-dose vaccine regimen for children ages 6 months through 4 years old. The doses are 1/10 of an adult and would be given 3 weeks apart. Pfizer says it also plans to submit data on a 3rd shot for this age group soon. Pfizer's request for emergency use authorization of its vaccine means one of the nation's youngest age groups would be eligible for shots, possibly as soon as the end of this month.
The second it is available, we're going to be calling our pediatrician.
Cons Preddy has anxiously awaited a vaccine for her 3-year-old son and 2-year-old twins.
I don't want to get too excited and then have to sort of continue living in this limbo.
In December, Pfizer announced that 2 doses of its vaccine did not provide a strong enough immune response in 2 to 4-year-olds, prompting the company to add a 3rd shot to the trial. Authorization would come at a pivotal moment. New pediatric cases dropped last week for the first time since early December, but remain high, over 100,000 for 25 consecutive weeks.
I think for parents of young children, I would say hang in there. Over the next few weeks, you're going to see a continued dramatic decline.
New Orleans today became the first major school district to require its students ages 5 and up be vaccinated. Parents can opt out on medical, religious, or philosophical grounds. But with so many parents already hesitant to vaccinate their eligible children, experts don't expect authorization for kids under 5 to significantly affect new case numbers. Only 38% of 5 to 17-year-olds are fully vaccinated.
Do you understand the hesitancy by so many parents?
Of course I do. I encourage parents to talk to their pediatricians, to read trustworthy sources of information, not to go down social media rabbit holes, but to look at the real data.
I feel very comfortable with having my kids get the vaccine.
I spoke with a member of the FDA advisory committee today, and he told me they would only give authorization if they can clearly see evidence the vaccine is safe and effective. If a 3rd shot is greenlit, it would be given 8 weeks after a 2nd dose. Nora?
So many parents waiting for this information. Nikki Batiste, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. The effort to offer COVID vaccinations to virtually all Americans, including the youngest among us, is close tonight. Pfizer confirming late today it has started down the road of seeking emergency use authorization for its vaccine for children 6 months to 5 years who are currently ineligible. Child cases stood last week at over 800,000. That's less than the previous week, but still extremely high. Pfizer for now calling for 2 lower dose shots for the youngest group. If approved, the first injections could begin within weeks. But the news comes with a nagging dose of reality, reluctance among many parents to have their kids vaccinated. Tom Costello now with late details.
With 3.5 million new pediatric COVID cases in January alone, the potential that shots could be going into very young arms within a month is welcome news for millions of parents.
Every day I'm worried about them contracting COVID. I would say that we're very cautious.
In Maryland, the Cross family has 3 kids, 2 under the age of 5.
As a working parent, I want them vaccinated so that we are not dealing with this child care gap of constantly having to have our kids out of school and daycare.
Pfizer today requesting emergency FDA authorization for a 2-shot vaccine dose at 1/10 the adult dose for kids 6 months to 5 years, as it continues researching whether a 3rd dose provides even more protection. Children typically receive 16 vaccinations from birth to 18 years, but many parents are hesitant to add another. A new COVID vaccine study finds just 31% of parents say they'd vaccinate kids under 5 right away. 29% will wait to see how other kids react. 26% will not vaccinate their youngest kids. 12% will only do so if the school requires it. Dr. Paul Offit is on the FDA's outside vaccine committee that evaluates safety.
We all want to see the data. And we would not approve this vaccine unless we could imagine giving it to our own children, our own grandchildren. I think the American public can be reassured by that.
Today, the American Academy of Pediatrics weighed in, saying it's important that all children can benefit from the protection that the vaccine offers.
The fact is, even if they don't get hospitalized or worse, they have to miss school, their families have to miss school. It's a major work burden. It ends up isolating the whole family, and it's an educational loss for a lot of kiddos.
And Tom, it sounds like in this case, the FDA asked Pfizer to submit the request for authorization. I suppose that suggests this is very urgent.
Yeah, that's right. It wants to consider a 2-dose regimen to get the ball rolling on building immunity before that 3rd dose is approved. So far, there have been no serious side effects reported in kids 5 to 11 who've been vaccinated, but fewer than 20% in that age group are vaccinated. Lester?
All right, Tom Costello, thank you.
This is ABC News. This is the CBS Evening News.
I literally feel like I'm a different person.
Yes.